wrap it up. NBN Co has commented in the media that the ACCC decision on the Telstra SSU delayed the NBN rollout. The NBN Co corporate plan outlined the date for finalisation of the Telstra agreement as June 2011.
That was the original corporate.
That's right, yep. The ACCC has given us evidence that it did not receive the Telstra SSU until July 2011. So can you explain or clarify how the ACCC contributed, if at all, to the delay in the NBN rollout with its consideration of the Telstra SSU?
We're not suggesting that the ACCC contributed to the delay. We're suggesting that we couldn't. We anticipated in December 2010 that we would have reached agreement and could start using the national duct data from Telstra, which we need to do all the things that Mr Steffens has spoken about, by June 2011. That was probably optimistic. We underestimated the length and time and the complexity of reaching final agreement with Telstra, and we also, I have to say, didn't anticipate the fact that the deal could not commence until after the Telstra SSU and how long that would take. It didn't occur until March, so we couldn't get the national duct data until then. So we couldn't do the design process that we talked about earlier.
Okay. So in light of that question, am I still right to think, and the committee's right to think, that there is between a 6-month and a 12-month delay in the original NBN rollout?
From the December 2010?
Yep.
Yes.
And if so, can you clarify for us the delay in the NBN rollout? You know, what is the reason behind that 6 to 12 month delay?
Well, there was a number of reasons, one of which was the decision, the ACCC decision on the points of interconnect. They moved from 14, which we had designed on and based our network on, to 121. That required a rejig of the network, quite a substantial one. We had anticipated getting the national duct data in June. We got it the following March. And of course, the construction contracts themselves took us a bit longer to negotiate those, because we terminated the process and went into a new process to make sure we get value for money for the Australian taxpayer. Okay. Now, I have to also say, Chair, that the issues we talked about around addressing was also quite a task to undertake, and we also took on board on January 1st, 2011, the greenfields requirement. And I had some information, because I know the committee was interested in greenfields. It looks like we're out of time to do that, but that was quite a substantial undertaking.
Oh well, feel free to table it.
Okay, well, it's on. In fact, it's the last slide that's in the pack that we handed out there, and it's showing basically the same pattern as Mr Steffens has talked about before. What you can see on the very left-hand side there is the number of applications that we have had since we started this. And remember, we took responsibility from January 2011. And up from that time up to the end of September this year, we've had close to 2,900, in fact more than 2,900 applications for estates, different stages. That's almost 150,000 lots, and in fact, in the first quarter of FY13, the last quarter that's just passed, we received 322 developer applications. One thing that's very important to understand is that the number of lots per application we're getting is an average of 51. That is vastly different to what the smaller commercial companies are going, because they can pick and choose which greenfield sites they want to supply service to. So, for example, Opticom, I think the company started in 2005. They turned on their first site in 2007, and since that time they've done 35 sites. But their average is a little over 2,000 lots per site. So this is great business. If you can do very big sites, close to cities, if you can pick and choose. We can't do that. We're dealing with lots that are 50, or applications that are 51 lots per site. So we have had, obviously, a big battle in the start-up of this process. It's been quite complex, but as you can see, we are now getting on top of that. With the network design documents that Mr Steffens talked about in brownfields, we have now worn down. We had quite a backlog in June. We have now cleared that backlog, and we're running at double the rate in September that we were running in June for doing those design documents. We're now doing 50 NDDs a week on average. So we've cleared that backlog. We produced 528 NDDs by the end of September, and as you can see at the end of September there, we now have 45,000 lots issued to our construction partners for getting under construction. In terms of lots passed, at June we were at a bit over 10,000, in fact 10,054. At the end of September we were at 19,730. In other words, we doubled the number of lots passed in the last quarter. We've done more in that last quarter than we did in the preceding quarters up to there. And in terms of premises activated, at the end of June we were at 500. At the end of September we were at 1824, so we tripled that. And in fact at the end of October we're at 2,500. So we are now really starting to ramp up. Just by way of example, this comparison is often made with us with Opticom and the performance. Just to remember, those Opticom have done 35 sites completed since they started in 2005. Last week we signed contracts for 38 sites in a week. We completed NDDs for 36 sites and we handed into service 13 sites. So we're talking about chalk and cheese here in terms of scale. What we're doing is having to put up new developments anywhere across the country, no matter what the size is, provided it's going to be above 100 lots over 3 years. This is a huge job. It's a very difficult job, but we are getting on top of it.
Okay. In the short time, well,
you've just referred to the rule of over 100 lots, but then you just said the average was 51 lots.
Yes,
can you explain that?
That's because it's 100 lots. And by the way, there's no way we can police this. If a developer comes to us and they say, we're going to do 100 lots in this area over 3 years, stage one is 10 lots, we have to do it, which is what we're doing.
In the time, I just want to get you on the record with a couple of other things. In the new corporate plan, there's a legal notice on page 2. And just in light of that legal notice, what legal and moral obligations does NBN Co see that it has to meet the NBN rollout forecasts set out on page 36?
I don't think we have a legal requirement.
Have you got the legal notice?
I have to check with our lawyers on this one,
Yep,
but I
take that on
think
notice.
so.
Feel free to take it on notice. To meet the forecasts.
To meet their forecast.
Yeah. If you can take that on notice,
Yeah, sure.
it'd be good to get it on the record.
I'll only be flayed in the court of public
Yeah, that's right. that we understand.
Who would be doing that? The financial result, I've got 3 questions on that. Why are the financial statements provided to the committee in mid-year again unaudited when the committee received the performance report after the NBN Co annual report was already released?
You have to answer that one.
That's what I'd have to refer to the department. This is the government's report, so...
Okay, you might have just answered it, but if you could take that on notice, that'd be good. And in the information we've received, what has caused employee expenses to almost double since the end of 2011-12?
I didn't get the question, sorry.
Why is it employee expenses?
What has caused employee expenses to almost double since the end of 2011-12?
Main reason is probably because the amount
Employing
of
more
people
people.
doubled.
Double, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted
Yes, that's right.
it's to get you on the record.
Yes.
Is that your understanding of?
That's the reason. What's the number at the end of June 2011? How many? We'll have to check the numbers.
1620 employees at the end of June 2011.
And how many at the end of June 2012?
Oh, sorry, June 2012 is
1600.
1620.
June 2011.
was around 800. So
Yeah, I think we've about doubled. We'll check the exact numbers,
Yep, if
but
you could
we've
take that
about
on
doubled.
notice.
Yep.
And can you clarify how long you expect NBN Co to be in a state of experiencing an operating loss?
That is in the corporate plan. I think we're 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Wyatt Roy will be in his second
No,
term
no,
as
no,
Prime
no.
Minister by the time.
There's a lot of NBN employees with that question. Finally, with pricing, 2 questions. What is NBN Co expecting it will do to access pricing for retail service providers as download usage rates increase over time?
I think they're referring to our CVC pricing. Our CVC pricing, we are expecting, as usage goes up, we're expecting our price per megabit per second in the CVC to go down. That megabits per second in the CVC equates to gigabytes per month for the end user. So we're expecting to drive those costs down. Remember, our modus operandi is to return to the government and then get wholesale prices down as fast as we can. To do that, by the way, we're attempting to get our costs down as fast as we can, which is why the cost that Mr Payne put on the table, we will not stop there. We will keep driving costs lower and lower and lower every year.
Okay, and can you clarify the mechanisms in place to prevent any price rises being directly passed on to consumers?
That we can't. We deal with wholesale prices, and we've agreed in the SAU we're holding prices fixed for the first 5 years of the SAU, but we can't make any guarantees of what we're expecting the market to operate at the retail level.
Okay, so we take you on good faith that you're driving prices down.
We will drive wholesale prices
down.
Yes.
Final question.
No, it's not a question actually.
Final statement.
No. I'm just trying to be helpful. There are 2 pages that you haven't, because we dragged you off on other issues, you haven't dealt with the fixed wireless capital expenditure per site and long-term satellite service capital cost. Do you want to just speak briefly to those?
I think Mr Payne was going to talk to
documents.
Speak very quickly. I think the satellite one we have covered. So
Can you just tell us what the dollars are there? I mean, I know this is one of those mysterious columns. We don't even have a point of reference.
this is again one where we're not providing. We're providing this to give you an idea of relativities. We're not going to.
We announced the dollar values with those contracts.
For the satellite portion.
For the satellite portion.
Why can't you just put a figure on it? Just tell us what the numbers are.
Well, we can provide you those numbers that we've announced. The reason why we wouldn't put a figure on the total, because the people who are now tendering for the launch would use the numbers we've got, look at the total and subtract the difference and say that's what
the mixture of sums contracted and sums not.
But we can certainly give you, Mr Turnbull, the costs that we have signed in contracts.
Take a minute. This is much more important. Okay, all right. Okay. Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
Oh, okay, just one question. Listen, I know you're driving costs down. Why do you still have an NBN Tasmanian board paying a couple of $100,000 to the directors when it's no longer a separate company? Doesn't have any outside shareholders anymore.
That is the final question. And you can take that on notice if you want.
I'll take it on notice.
Oh, come on. Come on, it's a couple of $100,000 a year. You're just paying for no value.
You can take it on. We've got a lot of questions on notice. It'll come back.
Yes, take that one on notice.
You've got the chairman in your corner.
Yeah, that's right. Trying to get broadband to Port Macquarie. Thank you for coming today to assist the committee. If you've been asked to provide additional information and there have been a lot of questions on notice, could you please forward it to the Secretariat by Friday the 9th of November? If the committee has any further questions, feel free to put them in writing through the Secretariat. I'd like to stress, colleagues, the time-critical nature of getting answers to questions on notice to the Secretariat, both the ones coming in and the ones coming back, by the end of next week, because the committee is attempting to report in the final sitting